Center 6.
Getting a rise out of a fall. After an embarrassing spill, Bob Dole plays up his quick recovery and his quick wit, saying he's not fragile, he's agile. The House votes to override President Clinton's veto of a ban on some late-term abortions, but the battle is far from over. The Pentagon admits for the first time that thousands of Gulf War GIs may indeed have been exposed to deadly chemical weapons. And a plot to kill a pop star sets off an international race to save her life.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. The American public is seeing a side of Bob Dole that many may not have seen before. The catalyst, a nasty spill. He took off a campaign podium in California last night, captured in photographs, and widely seen ever since. Within seconds, Dole moved to recover his physical and political footing, using fast wit, grit, and stamina to brush off fear for his health or damage to his image. Phil Jones is covering Bob Dole after the fall.
Asked how he felt the day after his nasty fall, Bob Dole said, great. Senator, are you sore today?
Not really.
Huh? No sores? No aches? No pains?
A little bit right there.
The accident happened as Mr. Dole was campaigning in California from an elevated stage. The candidate leaned against a railing that had not been nailed down. Had it not been for a still photographer who caught Mr. Dole, the accident could have been disastrous.
It was so fast. It was just this blur coming right at me, and your instinct is just to try to catch it or keep it from hitting you, one of the two.
But the fall didn't stop the presidential campaigner. Mr. Dole, who lost the use of his right arm in World War II, joked about the incident.
And I think I just earned my third Purple Heart going over the rail.
And in Las Vegas today, Mr. Dole was using humor to soften the blow.
First, I want to say don't be afraid of standing close to the stage. I'm not going to dive off today. I was trying to do that new Democratic dance, the Macarena. I don't want to happen. So I'm not going to try that anymore.
There appears to be no physical damage to Mr. Dole, but could there be political damage from the images left by all those pictures, especially the still photographs?
If the press wants to create a frame around this that suggests that it reinforces the age issue and suggests a faltering campaign, the press, I think, will have done Dole a real disservice.
What should the voters think when they look at the pictures of you falling yesterday?
They ought to think, boy, that guy's agile, he's young, he goes after him, he's tough.
The campaign spokesman says if Mr. Dole can tumble like that and hop right back, this should put to rest the age question once and for all. Phil Jones, CBS News, Las Vegas.
The latest CBS News poll indicates what Dole is up against just 7 weeks to Election Day. A solid approval rating for President Clinton that remains near his all-time high. The Clinton positive also holds for issues ranging from his handling of Iraq to the performance of the U.S. economy. And the Clinton-Gore ticket still holds in our poll a double-digit lead over Dole-Kemp. 2 election year issues came up in Congress today that get high priority with important voting blocs, including the group both parties consider the swing vote, stressed-out working mothers in the suburbs. One involves maternity time in the hospital and insurance companies. The other involves a rarely used type of late-term abortion performed after the first trimester. First, about the abortion vote. Bob Schieffer has the latest on that. Bob?
Well, Dan, the House, as expected, did vote to override President Clinton's veto of legislation which would have banned the so-called partial birth abortions. But as Democrats pointed out, it really changed nothing.
This bill isn't about saving babies' lives. It is about politics in an election year.
What he means is that for all the grisly pictures and emotional debate, both sides have known for months that whatever the House did would be meaningless, since abortion foes have never been able to muster enough votes to override the legislation in the Senate, something the Republican leader there conceded again today.
I suspect it would be hard to override it, but it's an important issue that we certainly would vote on.
Translation, we still don't have the votes, so this legislation is dead, and Congress will put no new restrictions on abortion this year. Really, the only significance to this was to the politicians themselves. It put everyone on the record again on abortion, which will give them new fodder for their campaign commercials and allow all sides to raise more money from both sides in the abortion issue. Dan.
Thanks, Bob. As for Congress's other move today to guarantee new mothers and their babies at least 2 days in the hospital before they're sent home, our health correspondent and Dr. Bob Arnott has that story.
Got 'em, keep 'em warm.
The new legislation permits mothers to remain in a hospital for 48 hours after a normal vaginal delivery and 96 hours after a cesarean section. It was brought about by widespread complaints about HMOs and insurers who would not pay for more than a 24-hour hospital stay.
I literally got 85,000 letters from women and parents and husbands and brothers and sisters across this country outraged that this could actually be taking place.
Limiting mothers to 24-hour hospital stays run these risks. Many infants have to be readmitted for undetected problems. Maternal infections are missed. New mothers may have trouble with breastfeeding. Doctors charged the decision to limit maternal hospital stays to 24 hours were based on purely financial considerations.
There was never any evidence that a 24-hour hospital stay was safe for the mother or the infant.
The HMO industry, which has sometimes penalized doctors for longer than 24-hour stays, criticized the legislation.
We think it's not a particularly good idea to tell doctors how to practice medicine. We think that physicians should practice medicine.
The bill does not take effect until January 1998. However, its passage puts increasing pressure on insurers and HMOs to pay for 48-hour stays even before the legislation takes effect. Dan?
Thanks, Doctor. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, the CIA's surprising assessment of Saddam as U.S. troop reinforcements arrive in Kuwait to keep him in check. And attention, Shannon Lucid, your ride is here.
Hey, Bob, was that your daughter on hard copy last night?
Hey, Bob, they ever find your gold card?
Hey, Bob, I hear your neighbor's suing you.
Bob, your computer crashed.
Hey, Bob, what about your root canal? Bummer.
Woo! Looks like stepping something, Chief.
Life gotten a little crazy? Try the simple sanity of an Accord sedan. From Honda.
Quaker thought you'd like to know that a diet low in saturated fat and high in sources of fiber, including Quaker oatmeal, may lower cholesterol, and that can be very good for your heart. Quaker oatmeal. Oh, what those oats can do.
You've got that nighttime heartburn, burning and churning. So what are you going to take, Zantac 75 or Malox? Malox starts to work on stomach acid in about 1 minute. Zantac 75 could take over 45 minutes to start working. So make 1 minute Malox the fast choice for you.
Surprising words today from the director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Even after the recent U.S. attack on Iraqi military targets, John Deutsch says Saddam Hussein is actually stronger, at least politically. Deutsch told Congress economic sanctions have failed to weaken Saddam's hold on power. The international alliance against him appears divided, and Deutsch says Saddam still has enough military power to threaten his neighbors. That threat and the protection of U.S. interests are the reasons President Clinton ordered thousands more U.S. troops into the Persian Gulf region this week. The first of them arrived today in Kuwait, and Tom Fenton is there.
The U.S. cavalry rode into Kuwait on a white charter today, the vanguard of reinforcements that will beef up the American force along the Iraqi border in a few days to almost 5,000. They traveled light. The tanks they will use in the desert were already here, waiting to be checked out and mounted. Their orders...
Training, lots of training.
And anything else?
That's just about it.
Although this is being officially described as a training mission, the real reason these soldiers are here is to serve as a deterrent and a warning to Saddam Hussein. Because although they will be training, these soldiers are also combat ready. Not only ready, but willing and able.
They tell us to get up and go, we got to go. That's the bottom line.
That's what the 1st Cavalry does, huh?
First to fight.
A U.S. official said the Kuwaitis will sleep better tonight, knowing the soldiers are here. The irony is that they're arriving just as tension with Baghdad is cooling. No one here is losing sleep right now, except the 1st Cavalry. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Kuwait.
As more and more U.S. troops head for the Gulf, the U.S. military was forced to make a grim admission today about the thousands who served there during the Gulf War. Correspondent David Martin at the Defense Department has the Gulf War Syndrome story.
The Pentagon now says at least 5,000 American soldiers might have been exposed to fallout from exploding chemical weapons when U.S. troops blew up these Iraqi ammo bunkers at the end of the Gulf War. More and more, the Pentagon is admitting the problem could be as bad as some Gulf veterans claim.
Who are you going to believe? We were there. We know what we saw. We know what we felt. We know how sick we are now.
Warning the number of soldiers exposed to chemicals will probably go higher, the Pentagon today apologized for taking so long to get the facts out.
It is incredibly and shockingly, I must say, difficult to put together accurate stories about what happened.
Until last June, the Pentagon insisted no U.S. troops had been exposed to chemical weapons. Then the Pentagon admitted one of these bunkers had contained rockets filled with nerve gas. Now it says a second batch of chemical rockets was destroyed.
I continue to feel betrayed by the Department of Defense. Through their continued lies, cover-ups, and distorted disinformation campaign, they are perpetrating a fraud on the American people and discrediting the soldiers and their families.
Today on Capitol Hill, disabled veterans and their families told how the Pentagon reacted to their complaints about symptoms ranging from vomiting to swollen joints to cancer.
And the physicians there look at it and ignore it, set it aside. This is not important. This is not happening to you. This is all in your head. I'm sorry. This is not in my head. This is not in the veteran's head. This is not in anybody's head except for the DOD's head.
I know there are charges we have not listened in the past. We are trying to listen now.
Most of the estimated 50,000 Gulf War veterans who suffer from these symptoms were nowhere near the Iraqi ammo bunkers when they were blown up. So that alone cannot explain this mystery illness. But revelations like this are proof that 5 years after Desert Storm, the Pentagon is only beginning to come to grips with Gulf War syndrome. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Crispix for me? Thank you.
Elizabeth says Crispix won't get soggy in milk.
We'll see. Starts off crispy. So far, you're right, Elizabeth, but still crispy. Okay, but reality will soon set in.
Kellogg's Crispix cereal. Delicious corn and rice that stays crispy to the end.
Last bite, gonna be mushy, soggy. Hey, it's still crispy.
More Crispix, Daddy?
Thanks. You're a doll. You too, Elizabeth.
Arthritis pain, it's a part of my life. That's why I keep Advil close by. You see, it stops minor arthritis pain where it starts. Nothing's proven to work better or last longer than Advil. Nothing.
Advanced medicine for pain.
What I like most about this marrowbone is it has that crunchy exterior. It's really good for the teeth, and on the inside, it's made up of real bone marrow. You can depend on Pedigree to do what's right for your dog.
Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
Bobby said he beat you. He's such a kidder.
He wasn't kidding.
Well, maybe he just got lucky.
3 in a row.
Well, maybe we need a new game plan.
Introducing New Ensure Light. Complete balanced nutrition. #1 doctor recommended. Low in fat and only 200 calories. Helps you stay healthy, active, energetic.
I think I'm ready for another.
Another Ensure Light?
Oh, another game.
New Ensure Light. Drink to your health.
A glut of fresh Chinook salmon means rock-bottom prices for you. A bargain fishtail coming up at 6.
The rap singer Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting over the weekend in Las Vegas. It turns out he left behind a video that foreshadowed his death. It was shown on television last night. In the video, Shakur is gunned down, just as he was in real life. He dies and goes to heaven, where he is greeted by comedian Red Fox and a pantheon of African-American musicians. Tupac sings them his last song.
I kissed my mama goodbye and wiped the tears from my lonely eye. Said I'll return, but I gotta fight to fix the ride.
The video was finished a month ago and released just 3 days after Shakur died of gunshot wounds. No one has been arrested in that killing. Tupac Shakur was 25 years old. A pop star overseas was targeted for death by an American fan. How the plot was discovered and the race to change the ending is a bizarre tale told tonight by correspondent Randall Pinkston.
This is the story of obsession and an Icelandic pop star, Björk Gudmunds's daughter.
I'm always I'm kind of obsessed about music.
It begins with gruesome discoveries in a South Florida apartment. The body of 21-year-old Ricardo Lopez and a pile of videotapes. Police looked first at the tape marked Last Day Ricardo Lopez. Lopez showed himself making a bomb designed to spray sulfuric acid when opened. He also talked about why he wanted to send the bomb to his pop star idol, Björk.
He admits to being obsessed with her. He alludes to a relationship that she was having with a black man, and in his words, that was unacceptable.
He then sent the bomb and shot himself. The gruesome discovery set off a massive effort to stop the parcel bomb from being delivered, a 3,500-mile race that ended up here in London. And with the help of British police from Scotland Yard, the package was traced to a South London post office. Björk, who finally emerged from seclusion, was stunned.
Because first you just got messages from FBI and that a man had died, and then I didn't hear the details till last night.
Some of Björk's music evokes the erotic, often with a darker side. Images of Shakespearean death, animals killing a hunter in a dark forest. Still, Björk is baffled that her work would trigger Lopez's obsession.
There's nothing I can do about it, really. I just find it very sad that people get in that kind of state.
When detectives are finished with this case, psychiatrists may be the only ones capable of explaining the sinister background to the story of a pop singer and an obsessed fan who wanted her dead. Randall Kingston, CBS News, London.
A progress report today from federal investigators looking into the wave of church fires in the American South. They say they've looked into 189 fires this year, making 83 arrests. 44% of those arrested are children, as young as 7. 80% are white. Straight ahead, Clinton, Dole, and drug abuse policy, a reality check, and Lucid in the sky with Russians. But what's next for the U.S. in space?
If you've been drinking Ensure, there's a little something you should know. Nobody, not even Ensure, gives you more protein with less fat than Sustacal. Now, Sustacal can't add years to your life, but it might help add life to your years.
How's your job?
Great. There's still a lot of stress, though.
You still getting those headaches?
Yeah, I actually went to the doctor. I thought they might be migraines. He said they weren't. He told me to take Tylenol, extra strength.
Tylenol? Not some prescription, huh?
The Tylenol works great, Dad.
More than aspirin, more than ibuprofen. For headaches, doctors recommend Tylenol the most.
You should have come to work for me, Julie.
Oh, sure. No stress there.
Introducing new improved Super Polygrip.
They've really improved the way that it holds.
New Super Polygrip has up to 30% more holding power.
It's new, it's improved, and it's the ultimate. Perhaps I'll start eating more apples.
Quaker thought you'd like to know that a diet low in saturated fat and high in sources of fiber, including Quaker oatmeal, may lower cholesterol, and that can be very good for your heart. Quaker oatmeal. Oh, what those oats can do.
Claritin.
You've got to ask your doctor about Claritin.
I did. You should, too.
I will.
Everybody should. It's time you experience Claritin. Ask your doctor for a prescription and call 1-800-CLARITIN.
Claritin is right for me.
Until I asked my doctor, I had no idea what Claritin was.
Clear days and nights are here. Call 1-800-CLARITIN.
Is that clear?
Perfectly.
Ask your doctor about Claritin today and call 1-800-CLARITIN for a $5 coupon and free information.
Women have made it to the Citadel, but can they make it through Hell Week?
Do you understand me?
Inside the Citadel, 48 hours tonight.
For President Clinton, the bus stopped here in the Pacific Northwest today. Thousands were there as the president's campaign on wheels came to Tacoma, where the president started pitching not only for his reelection, but for sending Democrats to Congress and ending Republican majorities in the House and Senate. Practically every day of the campaign has involved charges and countercharges over who's tougher on drug abuse, Bob Dole or Bill Clinton. So tonight, a reality check from correspondent Eric Engberg.
Ad barrages from the two big parties make it clear what's become public issue number one.
Because Bill Clinton isn't protecting our children from drugs.
President Clinton strengthened school anti-drug programs. Dole Gingrich tried to slash them 50%.
Time out. This, along with I'm bluer than you, wall-to-wall police photo ops, toy with voter emotions and leave out inconvenient facts. Example.
We must have leadership from the top that says through every means at its disposal that violent crime and drugs are wrong.
But Dole, who never made drug policy a priority as a senator, was also a Johnny-come-lately as a candidate. He said nothing about drugs in crucial early speeches like the State of the Union response or his Senate farewell. But then, Clintonites had to admit some staffers had drug use histories, and the press secretary blurted out,
I was a kid in the 1970s. You know, did I smoke a joint from time to time? Of course.
Capitalizing on character questions that have haunted his non-inhaling opponent, Dole pounced on a new government study.
And thanks to the liberal wink-and-nod policies of this administration, drug use among teenagers has not just started up again, it's skyrocketing upward.
Teen drug use is up, but it started in the Bush administration, and experts say no president can be blamed.
Lots of things influence what children do other than what's done in Washington. And that's obvious to everybody until it gets to be political season.
And Dole omits key facts. Total drug use is down from 23 million users in 1985 to 13 million in 95. Violent crime is down, too. For his part, the president would have you believe he's been an anti-drug crusader.
President Clinton appointed a 4-star general drug czar. And
yes, he did it in the election year after gutting the previous czar's staff. He also failed to deliver on the pledge to put far more money into treatment and prevention programs.
This has not been a major priority for the administration, and what they've done is tinker at the margins on the policies that they inherited.
What gets lost is the fact that state and local governments, which control schools, police, and drug treatment centers, spend more and do more to fight drugs than any president can. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Washington.
Like many organizations, the CIA has a homepage on the Internet. Well, a computer hacker attacked it last night with electronic graffiti. The high-tech vandal posted a message reading Central Stupidity Agency and replaced a photograph of the CIA director with someone else's picture. Spooked by all this, the spy agency today pulled the plug on its homepage.
A sparkling ship on crystal waters is coming.
Absolutely gorgeous. It was so much fun.
The perfect lobster is coming.
Our waiters, they would do anything for us, any time.
Perfection is coming.
A gift from the captain.
Memories are coming. 7 days in Royal Caribbean's Caribbean are coming. You've got some Royal Caribbean coming.
Ray and I set up shop here in the 60s. Man doesn't have a lazy bone in his body. Some time ago, his hands began bothering him. He'd go about his business, but was taking a lot of pills. So our doctor said to try leave.
You know, I could take just 2 leave all day. It says so on the label.
With Advil, you were taking 4.
With Tylenol, it was 6.
Just 2 leaves is all he takes. What could be easier? Ray's in every day except Sunday.
Gotta get my fishing in sometime.
Aleve. All day strong, all day long.
You know, heartburn medicines have been around for years. First came Tagamet, then Zantac, then Pepsid. But the newest, Axid. Now in non-prescription strength as New Axid AR. The only one that says right on its labeling, for many, it can prevent heartburn completely. That's something 2 Tagamet HB, Zantac 75, and Pepsid AC just don't claim. New Axid AR. Proven it can prevent heartburn completely.
President Clinton is officially out with the first major rewrite of policy on space since the Cold War. This new policy can be summed up in these words: faster, better, cheaper. For example, no landing of astronauts on Mars early next century. Instead, a series of robot spacecraft before the century is out to look for more signs of life on Mars. The near future aside, the very next chapter of the U.S. in space is being written today in English and Russian, out there, up there in orbit. Scott Pelley has the lowdown about the high frontier.
Atlantis and Mir joined above the Pacific. Inside, Shannon Lucid seemed to have butterflies. She'd been waiting for this meeting 6 months. Lucid leaves with the U.S. space endurance record. Even longer than planned, shuttle mechanical problems kept her waiting an extra 48 days.
Oh, we're having a good time. Thank you.
It's the fourth docking in the joint U.S.-Russian project dedicated to building a new space station. But even as the flights progress, there is growing fear that the new station is headed for a crisis. The $50 billion project cannot be built without the Russians, and yet the Russians are falling far behind delivering modules for living space and propulsion. CBS News has learned there are now questions about the quality of Russian hardware, and NASA is studying ways to take over the project.
We have a contingency to do it alone.
Andrew Allen directs the station program.
In case the Russians drop out of the program, we have to be prepared to continue in some way, in some manner, with our International Space Station.
Russian funding is sporadic. They are 6 months behind and slipping. Postponing launch could cost the U.S. $7 million a day.
Instead of one shift, they will go to 2 or 3 shifts in order to be able to catch up.
NASA also worries about what it is finding on Mir. This memo obtained by CBS News says chemical leaks from Mir damage outside equipment. If Mir is any guide, it says leaks on the new station would be much higher than specifications allow and would shorten the life of vital systems by half.
Atlantis, Mir is in free
NASA is studying whether the shuttle could be a temporary stand-in for the Russian living quarters, and U.S. engineers are designing replacements for Russian modules. Officially, the Russians are all smiles. They say they will deliver. But as even Shannon Lucid found, schedules are like everything in space. They don't carry much weight. Scott Pelley, CBS News at the Johnson Space Center.
And that's part of our galaxy tonight. Now here's correspondent Bill Lagatuda with a preview of this evening's 48 Hours.
For decades, men have toiled by the side of the road in chain gangs. But here in Arizona, there's something new under the hot southwestern sun. Chain gangs, one local sheriff has decided, are not just for men anymore. On tonight's 48 Hours, equal rights when you're on the wrong side of the law.
That's 48 Hours tonight at 10, 9 Central. Good program. We hope you'll watch it. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. I'll see you again soon on 48 Hours.
CBS News, winner of 7 Emmys for excellence in broadcast journalism. The CBS Evening News, 48 Hours, CBS Reports, CBS Weekend News, and Sunday Morning. Experience CBS News.
CBS News.